But what is really a circle? A circle is set of all points equidistant. What do we mean by equidistant? It means equal distance. So equidistant means they have the same distance from a given point that is called center of the circle. As you can see, all these points around the circle or around the circumference of the circle have the same distance from the center of the circle. So if I'm going to draw, or if I'm going to get the distance from the center to any point of the circle, that is the same as also the same distance from center to this point. So again, circle is a set of all points equidistant from a given point that is called the center of the circle. So the center of the circle here is letter C, and it is represented by a small dot. Now, let's identify or let's define what is a circumference. What do we mean by the word circumference? So circumference actually is the distance around the circle. It is also called as the perimeter of a circle. Remember what is perimeter? How do you calculate or work out the perimeter of a shape? We are going to get the total distance around the shape. So it's the same thing as the circumference of the circle. We're going to find the total distance around the circle. So we called it as circumference, but not perimeter. But somehow, it is for you to relate easily that this is also called as perimeter of a given circle. So again, we called it as circumference. And from one point to another point that passes through at the center of the circle, we called it as diameter. Again, diameter of the circle is a line segment from one side to the other that passes through at the center of the circle. And diameter is also called as the longest chord. You will come to know also later what is the meaning of a chord. So again, diameter is a line segment from one side to the other that passes through the center of the circle. So what is a radius? Let's take a look here, for example, a circle with center C. If we get another point on the circumference of the circle, and then we connect it to the center, then we will be forming a radius. As you can see, this line segment that you can see on the circle is what we call radius. So radius is a line segment that joins the center of a circle to any point of the circumference of a circle. So if you are going to get another point here, that is still a radius connecting center to any point of the circle. So we call that as radius. What is the relationship between radius and diameter? So the longest chord or the longest segment that you can see, that is called diameter, from one point to the other that passes through at the center, and half of that is what we call radius. From center to any point in the circumference of the circle, we call it radius. Again, I am pointing radius here from center to this point, and diameter is from this point to that point that passes through at the center. So we called it diameter. Now, what is the relationship between the two? Radius is just 1/2 of the diameter, while diameter is twice the radius. Again, if you are given the diameter, you just simply divide it by 2 to get the length of the radius. And if you are given the radius, then multiply it by 2 to get the length of the diameter. So if the radius, for example, of a circle is 4 centimeters long, of course, doubling it will give you a diameter that is 8 centimeters long. And if you are given, for example, a diameter which is 20 centimeters long, to get the radius, just simply divide it by 2. So 20 centimeters divided by 2 will give you 10 centimeters. So again, if you are given the diameter, divide it by 2 to get the radius. And if you are given the radius, multiply it by 2 to get the length of the diameter. So let's try and let's have this example. So I'm going to have here, what is the diameter if the radius is 12? Here 8, double. So diameter in the red circle is equal to 24. And the second one here, we have here also, 32 is the diameter. So how long is the radius? So we divide it by 2. 32 divided by 2 is equal to 16. Very good. And year 8, if the diameter here is 9 centimeter, what is half of that? 9 divided by 2 will give you a radius of, yes, that is 4.5. And the last one, the radius is 6. How long is the diameter? So you are going to double 6 centimeter. That will give you a diameter of 12 centimeter. So 6 times 2, or doubling 6, which is 6 plus 6, will give you 12 centimeter, or 12 units, I mean, for the length of the diameter. So let's have another part of a circle, which is a chord. The line segment that you can see in the blue one in here is considered a chord. What is a chord? A chord is a line segment that joins 2 points on the circumference of a circle. So if you will get 2 points on the circumference of the circle and connect them, like for example, I have here 1 point here and 1 point here, connecting the 2 points, then we can form a chord. So a chord, a diameter can be considered a chord, and that is the longest chord actually, because it passes through at the center. So as I told you, diameter is the longest chord of a circle, which is here in the middle, because it passes through at the center of the circle. And it joins 2 points on the circumference of the circle. So that's another part of a circle that you have learned. Another one is the blue one. What do we call it? So we called it as sector. So what is a sector? A sector is actually, a sector of a circle is the area enclosed between 2 radii and an arc. Okay, so we have here, this is an arc, a part of the circumference only, an arc, and the 2 radius here, or the radii, which is the plural of radius, it's enclosed by 2 radius, or the radii here, and an arc. So the part here that is blue is what we call the sector of a circle. And this one here, the arc of the blue shaded part, is what we call an arc. Again, this part here is an arc. The blue shaded is what we call sector, because it is enclosed by the 2 given radius and the given arc. So again, this is a sector, this is an arc, this is one radius, and this is another radius. So that's what we call sector. So an arc is the part of the circumference at the edge of a sector. So this one here, this is the edge of a sector, so we called it an arc. So it can be part of the circumference, any. If you are going to make another radius, then you can make also an arc, which is the edge of a circle, a sector, I mean. Another part, important part of a circle is what we call segment. Segment is the area enclosed between a chord and an arc. Remember, a sector is enclosed by the 2 radius, or the radii, and then with an arc. This time, if you have a chord and an arc, the area, the blue area in the circle here is what we call segment. Again, it is the area enclosed between a chord and an arc. That is segment. An area enclosed between two radius and an arc is what we call sector. So that's the difference. So let's identify the parts of the circle here. So try to list down your 8, the name of the different parts of the circle after discussing to you the different parts of the given circle. So maybe we can start here with the blue one. So try to write it as your letter A. What do we call this line segment? This line segment is formed by connecting 2 points on the circumference of the circle. So we called it as the chord. The purple one, it's a chord also, but it passes through at the center of the circle. So what do we call it? We call it as diameter. And what do we call it as the small dot at the middle of the circle? We called it as the center of the circle. And the green one, which is just half of the diameter, is what we call radius. Very good. And what is this? It's just a part of the circumference of the circle. We called it as an arc. Okay, so it's easy to identify actually. You just have to remember the given terms. So let's proceed. Identify still the following parts of the circles. It's just more on practicing how to identify. This time you are given the name of the segment using the letters. Like I have here, line segment DC, line segment AB, I have center as O, and I have line segment OR. So what do we call them? What do we call line segment DC? Okay, try to answer this one year 8 first, and let's see. All right, are you ready? Year 8, what is your answer for the first question? DC, line segment DC is the chord. Very good. What about AB? It passes through at the center of the circle from A to B. Yes, it is the longest chord. We called it as diameter. And let number 3, what do we call it? The letter O. It is the center of the circle. And OR. OR is what we call the radius. Radius is 1/2 of the diameter. It is a line segment from the center to any point of the circumference of the circle. Okay? In this question, you are asked to label the diagram using the words below. So I have here the following words. Let's try to put these words into the circle by identifying the parts. So where should I put the radius? So try to answer your 8 first, and let's see. All right, so let's identify, or let's put these words already to the circle. So radius is from center to any point of the circumference of the circle. So this line segment here is the radius. Where should we put the diameter, or what is this here in the circle? It depends on you. You can answer in any order. So I'll put the next one here, the blue one. It is enclosed by the arc, the area enclosed between by the arc and the radii here, or the two radius here, we called it sector. Where and what do we call the area enclosed by the chord and an arc? We called it segment. Again, the difference between sector and segment, they have the same arc here, we have arc here, but the other one is chord for the segment, and we have here radius, 2 radius here for the sector. Then we can also put diameter here, which is the longest chord. of course. And then we have also arc. This can be also an arc here. You can label arc here. You can label arc here. You can have here the chord. Chord is here. Even this one is a chord, but specifically we name it as diameter. So let's have another questions here that you can answer. We are going to match up the word with the correct definitions. So just to check whether you can identify the following parts of the circle with their definitions. So which do you think we can put radius here? And which one? The part of a circle between two radii and an arc. The line connecting the center of the circle and the circumference. So you can try to answer this one. You can draw lines if you want to, or you can just simply write the answer to its definition. So let's start with the radius, the line connecting the center of the circle and the circumference. And chord, we can have also the distance or a line segment touching the circumference of the circle at 2 points. Where can we put the diameter? Diameter is the distance from one side to the other that passes through or passing through the center of the circle. So we have diameter. Segment, it's a part of a circle between a chord and an arc. You have circumference is the distance around a circle, which is also called the perimeter of a circle. Then we have sector, is the part of a circle between two radii and an arc. And then we have radii is a plural of radius. And then let's have one more. An arc is part of the circumference of at the edge of a sector. So please try to remember these definitions and try to know also how to identify different parts of a circle.